Hey everybody, welcome to Indie Games Level Up. I'm your host, Phil Lubensky. This episode is coming to you from MIGS, the Montreal International Game Summit. So I'm here with Philippe Morin, co-founder of Red Barrels. Philippe, how you doing?
Pretty good, and you?
Pretty good. It feels good to be two Phils in one spot, frankly. Can you give me a quick rundown of the Outlast games?
Outlast is a survival horror game. Its main purpose is to scare the shit out of players. The first game was released in September 2013, and we're currently working on a sequel. We like to create emotional journeys, and horror is a very good genre to create a very high intense emotions. Hugo, one of the co-founders, sent us a video clip from the FX Twins called Robert Johnny. It's a really freaky video clip using night vision. That was one of the main things that inspired us. That and the game Amnesia: The Dog Descent, the non-combat approach. And since a big part of the core gameplay is running away, then we might as well make those chases as exciting as possible. So that's why we decided to push the parkour thing, being inspired by Mirror's Edge.
In your opinion, what does a horror game need in order to be a memorable one?
It needs to be an experience that players take with them when they go to sleep. If they go to sleep and they still have images in their minds and they're still thinking about it, then you've done your job. We did a lot of playtests, and feedback was great, was awesome. We worked for several months on the first hour of the game. But at some point, we were kind of running out of time and running out of money. So we had to start using our own guts to finish the game. But it is really hard because once you know what's happening, it doesn't scare you anymore. On the first Outlast, probably the best playtest we did was going to PAX East. And we had players in some interior booths in the dark with noise cancellation headphones. And nobody could see what they were playing, but they could hear them. And there were some screams, there were some jumps. Some people knocked the walls of our booth.
Don't go through here. Oh my god.
Outlast was one of the big games to come out of Montreal. Do you have any advice for indies that are trying to market their games so it gets seen by the right audience?
As developers, you want to work mostly on something that you're going to enjoy. But it's really important to take some time to analyze the market and see what makes sense. Ideally, you get both. You get a game that you're passionate about, but that also makes sense financially. And that was the case for the first Outlast. There was clearly a demand for horror games. And at the same time, we were really motivated to make that kind of game because we never had the chance before. And with our experience in action adventure games, it made sense to use that experience in the horror genre. Once your game is out, you have to remain open-minded about every opportunity that comes to you and try to analyze what makes sense and what would be the best bang for the buck. For example, the Conan O'Brien was one thing that came. There was also Sony that came to us at PAX East while the game was just a PC version. Those are all things that were not planned, but you have to be flexible and adapt to those things because there might be opportunities that may change the course of the game in terms of success.
You recently announced Outlast 2. It's have new characters, new setting. What else can you reveal about Outlast 2, if anything?
It still fits in the same universe, and we're working on something that's going to bridge the gap between both games. We needed something that would make the players go, what the fuck is going on? And so that's why it made sense to go out of the asylum, so it's bring them someplace new so that they have that feeling once more, the feeling they had when they entered the asylum in the first game. We don't want to give too much details because it's really early and we're shipping in about a year. But yeah, I mean, all those players who know a lot about Outlast, who are wondering what's going to be the link between both games, that's something that we're all working on. It may not be part of the second game itself, but it's something maybe on the side that's going to give complementary information to players. There is one thing that we... I don't know if I should do, but and there's one thing that we studied a lot for the second game, which was the Jonestown thing that happened in the 70s, which is called the biggest mass suicide of all time, I believe. And so that's something that we studied and we checked a lot as an inspiration for Outlast 2.
Moment of truth here. Would you yourself ever enter an asylum filled with horrors in order to uncover the truth?
Are you crazy?
This episode is sponsored by the Canada Media Fund. Since 2010, They've invested over $50 million in Canadian indie game studios. Indie Games Level Up is produced by Handmade. Handmade creates video game trailers, commercials, and this web series. This episode is sponsored by the Montreal International Game Summit. Get to the next level with MIGS.